Plymouth coming up at 3. Sal in Brooklyn. What's up, Sal?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Mike, did Michael K call you to thank you? So now maybe he has a shot to win in the top slot now that you're leaving?
No, somehow he forgot. But you know what? Now they still might have their work cut out for them. I don't know. They never came close, though. They talked a lot, never came close, not even remotely close. Jimmy in Seaside. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, Mike. A couple questions. 2 questions, please. One is, I know the Giants, obviously everybody knows they got a hold of Ernie Accorsi to help out with the search and all that.
Yeah.
The question is, why do they ever ask for Bill's help in that kind of process? And 2, I know your story. I heard it on 30 for 30, and you were just talking about it a little while ago. But you never really talk about what happened when you graduated college. Like, how did you get the break into CBS? Like, how did you get from, having a degree from St. John's to getting a job at, your first job? Like, it seems like the story starts when you were already working at CBS. Like,
Well, I mean, I worked at other places and did different things, and somebody sees your work, and then you get an interview, and you get bounced around, and that's what happened. A guy named Kevin O'Malley brought me in for an interview based on some stuff that I had written. I was editing a football magazine. I was writing for different magazines and doing some different things. And I had authored a couple of books, and they brought me in to CBS, and they gave me a job, and that's how I got in. I started there. I got in to do some work. They were just going to get involved in football and basketball, college football and basketball for the first time. They had just won the rights to the NCAA tournament. It didn't start for a while, and I went to work there, and Musburger took a liking to me very early on, and I did a lot of work with him for years, and then just kind of grew into a very big job there, and that was it. Spent a lot of time there, and in between, fans started. So I went to CBS in 81. I went on the air there. First time I did TV was probably 85, 86, and then fans started 87, and I was doing both, and then I left CBS after 94. And been doing other things since, but I mean mostly fan. But that's that's when I went to CBS, was 81. But it was a guy named Kevin O'Malley who hired me. Dave and Deal, what's up, Dave?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? Just want to say, thanks for everything. It's been a long run here. Listened to you for, maybe 22 years around. Just want to say the one thing I always found that was innovative about your show is the way you conducted an interview. I thought that was just unbelievable. A lot of people have radio shows. A lot of people get out there and blab and talk about sports. But when you really broke down an interview, you really did it with a great journalistic foundation. So I thought that was really great. Just loved listening to your interviews. And then lastly, just want to get on one point, because I know on this decision with Carroll not running with Lynch at the goal line, you always said it was the worst decision you've ever seen, not only in football but in sports. Mm-hmm. But even further than that, Mike, that whole sequence, right after Curse's catch, it really just wasn't that pass that they threw the pick on. If you look back and watch that whole sequence, after Curse's catch, they didn't even get up to the line of scrimmage to call a timeout there, so they had to.
But considering their personnel and what was going on there, I mean, that game should have ended right there. It should never even have been an issue. And
yeah, but the thing was, then they used the timeout. They had one timeout left.
Right.
They run it to Lynch down to the 1.5, 2. And now there's 57 or 58 seconds left when Lynch is just getting off the ground. They don't hike the ball until 26 seconds left.
They wanted to make sure that Tom didn't have any time left. I mean, which
yeah, but if now at 26 seconds left, Mike, in second and goal, you run there and you don't get in, you have to use your final timeout, and now you can't even run. So now you're automatically forced into a pass the last 2 times.
Doesn't matter. The second play just should have happened. The point is they didn't want to leave any time on the clock. That made up for the fact that it was perfect. Just give the ball to the back. You got a big back. You almost scored on the first play. He's a guy who's going to be impossible to stop at that part of the game. If you have to use another down, use another down. But the first is, don't even think about that. Don't even think about you're going to fail. Just do the job. And they wanted to make sure they minimized how much time was left on the clock, which made sense. And then they don't follow through on it. And then last year was just as bad. I mean, Atlanta has got a 25-point lead with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. That's insane that they didn't win that game. Insane. Mike in Raleigh, North Carolina. What's up, Mike?
Mike, good talking to you.
What's happening?
I just wanted to thank you. As a transplanted New Yorker, it helps having your show on the radio for us that aren't in New York anymore. So thanks for all the years.
Well, thank you.
Just wanted to throw a couple of things out at you. First off, it's basically about the Mets and about the Marlins. The Marlins are having this crazy fire sale.
Yeah, they're downsizing, yes.
Downsizing, to say the least.
Yes.
They obviously, they moved Stanton. They just moved Ozuna.
Right, and they're going to move Yellich, yes.
I'll tell you what, the Mets haven't done anything. They show no desire to do anything, but the Mets have to somehow get in on Yellich. He is desperately a player that's
I like him.
Controllable. They need this guy.
I like
they got
him
to figure out a way.
I like him a lot. I don't know that they will, but I mean, I do like him a lot. No question about it. Dan in Massachusetts, what's up, Dan?
Mike, I called in about Sports Talk Radio, but first, let me say, last week you brought something to mind because Al from Long Island called in, and you said Al from Long Branch, and then you corrected it. So it just made me think. Let me ask you, what was your all-time favorite TV Western series?
Well, it's not a secret that it was The Rifleman.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because when you said Long Branch, that used to be the saloon in Dodge City.
Well, it was always The Rifleman. I used to use it in the music from the picks, but it was always The Rifleman. I've said that many times. That was my favorite. Always was my favorite. Bruce in Massapequa, what's up, Bruce?
Hey, Mike, I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Do.
Thanks very much.
I got a couple of questions, but the first one is, what was the three best managers in baseball that you've seen during your 30 years?
I don't think there's one guy that I think just is hands down better than the others. I really don't think there's one. Like, I'm not a guy who thinks like La Russa was way ahead of some of the other guys. I think there's been a lot of good managers, and I think it's much more distinguishable in football to see someone because they leave a much bigger impact on the sport than the baseball manager does. Because when you look at the baseball manager, tell me how if you say to me, how did La Russa change the game? The way I'm going to say he changed it is he went to the multiple pitcher change. He went to the 5 pitcher change at the end of the game. I mean, he went to the guy, instead of getting a save with one guy, he got the save with 4 guys. I mean, that's probably what he brought to the game. There were guys who brought at different times, platooning to the game, brought different things to the game. But I think that the football coach, because his influence is much greater on game plan, on personnel, on how the game is played, because it can be played multiple ways, I think his impact is greater. But the best way to say it is, if I had one game to win from the managers I've seen in my time in baseball, who would I pick to win one game?
Yeah,
that's a tricky question. It's more about the pitcher than it. You see, it's so much more about the pitcher than it is the manager.
But somebody like Billy Martin, I mean, he took a second division team, and right away, first year, he put him up in the first division.
But I watched Billy later in his career, and he ruined some teams.
Right,
too.
I agree with that. But
but early on, listen, if you want a guy who had an impact on teams, Billy could take a bad team and get something out of it right away. I mean, he could do that, absolutely. He would turn a team around, and for short term, he could get a lot out of the team. He might bury the arms, though. Like, he took that A's team and just destroyed their arms. Absolutely destroyed them. Late in his career, he was a little different. Billy had a big impact, but I don't say that Billy was absolutely the best manager I ever saw. One guy doesn't really joke. I think there's been some really good managers. I mean, there really have been some terrific managers, but I don't think one guy jumps out over the others. I don't even know if we had people vote, would they take one guy a lot over the others? I mean, in football, because of his longevity now, Belichick is going to reign over this generation enormously. In football, Popovich is going to reign over the NBA enormously. In baseball, I don't think one guy is. Back after this.